Anyone shipping on a cadence is asking one question this year. Which AI platform for agencies and creatives actually holds up at volume? And what comes back is demos. Everything works at 3 assets. That is the thing nobody says. Every platform on the market will give you 3 good ones, and 3 is not the job. The job is 30, on a schedule, across placements, with a revision round in the middle, and a client who spots the drift before you do. And what lands around asset 30 is invisible at asset 3. Memory goes, so each generation restarts cold and the account gets explained again. The product loosens into a version of itself. Agreement between assets decays as the count climbs. Work stacks up behind whatever is running. And one late change means rebuilding a batch because nothing signed off was ever kept. That is production, not generation. Invideo agent is what fixed it. And I collected all 5 failures before I got there. Forgetting went away once the brand system lived in context, the project's persistent memory, instead of in a folder somebody opens each time. Drift went away once we pointed at one approved frame rather than describing the product. The face held once the cast was locked as anchors the agent brings itself. Waiting went away once work ran side by side. And revisions got cheap the moment approved, work stopped being disposable. Which gives you something to measure any platform against, this one included. At 3 assets, everything passes, so test at 40. Does the brand still hold at 40? Does the 40th match the first without anyone supervising? Is the product identical in every frame? Can 2 lanes move together? And when the change lands late, does it cost one update or the whole batch? Memory, consistency at volume, fidelity, parallel lanes, revision cost. So here is the whole workflow, exactly as I ran it, and where an AI platform for agencies and creatives stops holding. The campaign was a supplement brand. 1 product, a daily sachet, into 2 markets, Spanish and Japanese. In the UGC style, those platforms reward. Dozens of ads, and the count is the entire point, because a workflow that only proves itself on the first 3 is not a workflow. Nothing generates until the account's own material is in. Guidelines, colors, the word mark, product documentation, the mascot, and the tone note, which here was 1 sentence saying, "The brand is fun and real and slightly sassy and never clinical." That sentence carries more weight than anything else in the folder, because without it, a batch of 30 comes back sounding like a pharmacy. Then InVideo Agent got the live site to read, since a deck records what a company settled on once, and a site shows what it is selling this month. Then the customer reviews, which is the input most operators skip. A deck says how the brand wants to sound. Reviews say what buyers actually say, which objection lands first, which phrase keeps coming back. On performance work, that language is the script, and it is free. All of it into context. Read back. Load an account's brand once, and it is present in every generation and every drop after it, which is what persistent memory is actually worth to an operator. Physical size is its own failure mode, and volume makes it worse, because 1 wrong assumption repeats across the whole batch. The sachet fits a palm. Let it read like a bulk supplement bag, and the client is looking at somebody else's product. Gummies around 1 centimeter, dark olive green. Both went in as rules with no flexibility, because size is what a client's eye finds first, and what multiplies fastest when it is wrong. But a rule written in words is still words, and words move. Ask for palm-sized across 40 generations and you get 40 subtly different palms, which is exactly how a batch goes wrong quietly. So we stopped describing the product at all. 1 approved frame of the sachet became the thing every product generation answered to. The close-ups, the hand interactions, the opening moment. Descriptions scale badly, references do not. And that is the entire difference between a batch that resembles the client's product and a batch that is it. Same mechanism, applied to people. The Spanish kitchen talent was cast once and held as an anchor. everything particular to her kept in one place, and every ad featuring her answers to that. InVideo Agent brings the anchor along on its own, so nobody is retrieving a face on the 40th asset, and it measures each take against what was locked. On this batch, it caught a setup that would not have survived the vertical crop, flagged before it got anywhere near the placements. Here is one of the Spanish spots.
Because you know in a moment, they could all...
Then the number that decides whether any of this is worth it, which is what a second market adds. Almost nothing, and only because none of the earlier work needed repeating. Brand, held. Product frame, held. Scale rules, held. Cast, not held, and deliberately so. A face has to belong to the audience it is selling to. So, Japanese was cast fresh, and that talent locked as her own anchor. That casting was the only new line item in the entire market. And it cleared fast because the agent was choosing against a brand system already sitting in context instead of starting from zero. Nothing else underneath moved. It took the translated script and the register that audience expects, restrained and precise and evidence-led, against Spanish-pitched warm and loud, and the reviews had already flagged the split because the objection buyers lead with is not the same in both markets. A new market costs you a cast and a register. That is the whole economics of running more than one. Here is the Japanese version.
青ヌルパウダーの食感がどうも好きになれないんだよね。すごくザラザラしてて。でもこれは全然違うの。緑色で、ちょっとビタミンっぽい匂いがする。あ、悪くないかも。めっちゃ美味しい。フルーティーな味がする。これベリー味？ほんのりベリーの味がするんだよね。これ本当にすごく美味しい。旦那さんも絶対好きだと思う。これ大好き。
Everything after that runs off the same held material, a different ratio, a shorter cut, another angle on the product, taken on by several InVideo Agent sessions at the same time, each on its own piece, connected through one context. Separate tasks checked their work. Running lanes together is only an advantage when every lane is reading the same memory. Here is one more from the batch.
Victory is mine, yeah, 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 yeah.
What it does not fix, and I would rather be straight about it. Enforcement never exceeds what you recorded. Load an account thinly, and it gets policed thinly, and no software defends a standard nobody ever wrote. So the question of which AI platform for agencies and creatives comes out best is really a question about setup discipline, and the operators pulling most out of it are the ones whose brand systems were already tight before any of this. So when you are deciding what to put an account on, mine is InVideo Agent. Take the most demanding brand you handle, push it to the volume you actually ship at, then move something at the last minute. You will have your answer before the day is out. invideo.io